Just keep killing them. Kill them inside. They're faltering. That comes from somebody, I don't know who. It could be actually them. Just to let you know how the mind works. That could actually be put in there from their people. And in their mind, they're going to get me to physically kill somebody by using those words. They're sick, man. Oh, they're millionaires. They don't care. They walk off into millionaire land. They don't care. But they'll go to hell one day. And many of them are already in hell. Oh, but we own the church. Okay. And we all go to church. Let us go to church. Sound familiar? So as I told you, the stalkers have people in law enforcement. How do I know? This is how they destroyed my life. That they're exactly the same people. And what happens is this same thing that you see happening happens to people on the street that they're killing. Why are we killing them? Because you're a piece of shit crud who sold to foreign nations and sold to narcos and have this lunacy in your head that you want to kill who you want to kill. But you have people on the street that harass the same way. Not as vocal, but the same psychology. So they're harassed, they're stalked, they're harassed, they're stalked. Some of those people get out and beat them up or shoot them and all that kind of. You see that crazy stuff on the street where somebody just gets off and pops somebody and kills them. That's a what do they call it? That's a deep state person. Deep state's not just in the government. The bulk of deep state is narcos, sex traffickers, scumbags using drugs in Kansas who live at the apartment complex I lived at, that kind of thing, and the dirty cops that pay them. In drugs, probably in some cases. They're that bold. I would say in Kansas, some of the cops are pulling the stuff out of the seized drugs and giving it to their crony paramilitary army of spycraft operators. It's not for the government. It's for selfish reasons, and we work for narcos and everything else. So when the thing gets to court, if they just arrest a person, if the person's still alive, like 4 or 5 of the witnesses are the deep state. You see. So it doesn't matter what really happens, but of course they do want the real situation just in case there's cameras watching or something like that. Believe me, they're in hell. From what I see of the LDS church, the majority of them are going to hell. Majority, not just a couple people. Yeah, you could have just been normal, and I wouldn't have known any better. Again, if you're a person on this planet that plays that game, even if it's just inside, then they can attack you, and God doesn't care. Because you're all playing your games out. I don't play the game. Never will. Never did. So they had me going in the news article because guys like, we're just trying to go to church. And then he said, we're all trying to go to bullshit. I thought maybe somebody trying to go to. But again, if you look at these situations, look at the video. Look up the street. Look like 20 feet up the street. There's nobody there. Maybe on the other street, 50 feet. All she has to do is keep driving and figure where to park and then walk to her doctor's office. She's obviously not a paraplegic or an invalid. Could be somebody who uses narcotics and can't figure out their way up the street, maybe. But again, law enforcement doesn't look at it like you have a priority. Because in those situations, right, even I got stuck in one. My wife was sick. We got stuck on a highway. We sat there for a while. It was one of those deals, we shut down the highway. So the front was like 50 feet up. So I got out. I said, hey, is my wife sick? Is there anything we can do? And he was totally rude. I mean, nice is actually being nice. But I got back to my car, and then like 1 minute later, it opened back up because I had power. I I said in the head, about time, ain't it? I don't know what happened, but I was asleep back then. I don't know if I said anything. I would have said something in the head. But again, when they tell you no, go back to your car, you go no, you go back to your car. Right? I didn't pull my gun out and go bing bing. Yeah, now you're a what do they call that thing? I don't even call it ding ding ding. What are those metal plates? Now you're just a silhouette target. All right, I didn't do that. All right. Excellent. No, I really nice when I asked you, but he just being a jerk, which he didn't have his macaroni and cheese for dinner. But no, she at a certain point, that was not even as bad. They have to do something to get her out of the way. And again, you understand, if you're protesters that are actually stalkers committing felonies of obstruction and impeding, what better way to do it than what we've already seen? She put her car in the middle of the thing and said, I can't move it. I'm not going to move it. But she has an excuse now. She's going to the doctor. They're going to church. Again, it goes back to the city. The city caused it. The city is causing it. They're not going to browbeat ICE into not being there. ICE is going to tell the judge what you're all actually doing. Well, because you're violating law. You're violating your own law. But you're violating the law that says you're not allowed to engage in nonfeasance and malfeasance. You can say your limits. Again, there's a question on whether you're allowed to alter what you do for people based upon going, well, that's civil law. Based upon the law in Minnesota, I don't think you can. Right? In Minnesota, as far as their state law. The civil process carries the weight of criminal process when it comes to certain things. But let's say you just go, because you are now interfering with civil process, if you want to call it civil process. Of course, some of it's criminal process. Right? But as far as noise issues, the reason that we have noise laws, the reason that we have traffic laws is because that's what each intersection would look like if we don't enforce them. They don't have a right to say that they're not going to enforce them. It causes a public hazard, a public safety hazard, a public safety menace. They're not allowed to say no. They can say, we're not going to help you locate the fugitive. But they can't not protect people. And again, they're not only unprotecting ICE, they're playing this game where ICE is unprotecting everybody in the community by their presence. That's bullshit. The police department, the city, and the state police there are unprotecting the people because that's their jurisdiction. That's their requirement to enforce those laws. It's not ISIS. Just ISIS presence doesn't say, oh, ICE is here. We don't have to, help with stopping the bank robber. You're creating a no policing zone based upon the mobile activity of ICE and then saying it's ICE. No, you refuse to police in those locations. Has nothing to do with ICE. It really doesn't. Because when you did it to me, the same thing happened, a little quieter, but the same thing happened. It's the result of your activity to refuse to protect the public for criminal gain, for personal gain, for political gain. Should be thrown in prison for at least 20 years. If you say that you have to break the law to keep your job, then you just were paid your job, whatever you make a year, to break the law. That's how it works. I would lose my job if I went after ICE. Well, how much you make a year there, Chief? About 120, 130, 150? What is it? That's what you get paid every year to break the law. See how they do it? That's how the protesters. We're just protesters. You're drug-addicted pieces of shit that sell drugs, use drugs, will steal from your mother for fucking drugs. That's who the majority of them are. Mayor might be that. Do we know if Mayor uses meth? Do we know if Fry uses meth? Do we know if Fry's smoking dope? We need to find out. He just might be another drug user, protecting the narcos and saying we're protecting the old ladies. So now they're throwing ladies at everybody. Actually, that's most of who's there. Women that have done nothing in their life, have no good reason to be there, went gay because no man would have them. Right. That's who attacks me in life. That's who doesn't let me with women. A dyke who wants to have sex with the women I talk to. A lot of them are lesbians. Right. You see how it works, all of you? Feminist lesbian getting her jollies off in the FBI and DHS. They're from DHS. Some of them were DHS. See, DHS, you got yourself for not enforcing those laws. Those attorneys that just left, same people that I'm talking about. Same people I've been talking about for 20 years. Because you didn't fuck them off and put them out of government. Now they own it. And they're fucking you all day. Now all these US say, we're leaving because this is unheard of. You know why? Because you're on to something. I put you on to something. Investigate them and find out what pieces of shit they are. Don't let some dirty police chief tell you who everybody is in his community. Right. Or some dirty mayor, probably a meth user and a dope smoker. They're the same people who took out Nixon. They used the same thing to take Nixon out. Spycraft played them until they made a mistake. That's all it was. He was one of the best presidents we ever had. He was fixing everything slowly but surely. Right. Well, he inherited a war from the Democrats, and then they blamed him. Right. He inherited a war from the Democrats, and then they blamed him. Now it's the worst it's ever been. Because they're out front saying this is lawful behavior. What ICE is doing is unlawful. They took it from we don't enforce civil law to ICE being unlawful. You present law enforcement with a problem, they come up with the answer. We've seen that on the corner and on the streets of Minnesota for years, pulling people out of the cars that wouldn't move along. But now all of a sudden ICE is criminal for doing it. So we went from we're not going to enforce civil law to they're criminal for enforcing civil and criminal law. And at this point, traffic laws. Based upon the necessity, the mission necessity. I believe we need National Guard in Minnesota. I believe the governor is just spouting off to buy time. Didn't he say he was going to put National Guard in the streets? You know why he did that? To block Trump from doing it. He hasn't put anybody in the streets, not even his police departments. Why would you put National Guard in the street when you could have Minneapolis PD and the state police enforce the law? Because you're bullshitting, Walt. You're a criminal. You're risking lives. You want a shooting because you got that big donation thing going. Oh, this is it. We need to stop Trump. You have to send me $1 million. No, I only want $10 from each of you. Right. But if you send 50, we'll send you this plaque. Hero of the Ice Wars. Right. Majority of those people use drugs. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows Minneapolis doesn't enforce any laws when it comes to drugs. Because the mayor's getting the kickbacks. The chief's getting the kickbacks. The governor's getting the kickbacks. Or it won't be kickbacks. It'll be bribes. Because kickbacks usually government money. Who knows? It could be government. It could be funding the bringing of narcotics in, for all we know. His police chief sent about 10 officers to protect the load. As it comes into Minneapolis, gets the hero's welcome. It's the mask from Mexico! Like a victory dance. Could be a kickback, could be a psychic cue. The government may be actually spending money to bring the narcotics in and to protect the narcotics distributors, because that's what that is. Everybody in the street in Minnesota is protecting narcotics distributors and a narco system that their criminals created to OD higher than anybody else in Minnesota. It's like a World War II victory scene. The meth is here! Our valiant revolutionaries in Mexico have delivered the meth! We'll have meth for another month! Yay, Minnesota! Yay, Minneapolis! And they've cut it with fentanyl! Yay! You know that scene where the sailor kisses that woman in World War II? They have a narco. The hero! The narco brought the meth! So everybody who uses meth is now a hero! I'll tell you what, Mrs. Good's eyes look like she's on meth to me. Right. I wouldn't say fentanyl, I'd say meth. But I wouldn't know without toxicology. You can't trust any of the labs. Welcome to my world, Ice. It's the world I've been living for 20, 30 years at least. Actually, 30 years. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.